The first light of dawn had barely touched the riverbank when a low, strained grunt cut through the mist. There, at the edge of the water, a massive gray shape lay motionless. Her legs folded awkwardly beneath her, and her swollen belly pressed unevenly against the soft mud. Each breath she drew seemed heavy, labored, as if the weight of the morning itself pressed down on her. Her ears twitched intermittently, a signal of alertness mingled with discomfort, and the subtle flick of her tail sent ripples through the tall grasses surrounding her. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth and the temps of the river, and tiny droplets of dew clung to her rough skin, highlighting the scratches and abrasions she had picked up during her solitary journey through the underbrush. The rescue team had arrived quietly, moving with measured steps that barely disturbed the mist hovering above the river. One ranger crouched several meters away, voice barely a whisper. "It's okay, girl," as his gaze met hers. Her wide eyes flickered at the sound, ears spreading briefly in alarm, but she did not flee. Instead, she shifted slightly, her movements deliberate and cautious, each one revealing the struggle beneath her size. The swollen curves of her abdomen indicated that she carried a calf, the weight pressing down unevenly on her legs and joints. The team exchanged quiet looks, their concern mounting as they observed the subtle signs of distress, the tremble in her legs when she tried to rise, the uneven sway of her massive frame, and the soft moans that seemed almost lost in the ambient hum of the river. She had been alone for hours, perhaps longer, her solitary vigil marked by discomfort and the quiet threat of unseen dangers. Around her, the forest stirred gently. A bird landed on a nearby branch, its tiny claws gripping the wood as it regarded her with curiosity, while insects hovered near her ears and legs. Her skin bore the marks of the journey, a small gash on one shoulder, faint scratches along her trunk, and a layer of dried mud from attempts to find relief on the bank. Each subtle movement, each sigh, spoke to the delicate balance between endurance and exhaustion. The team did not rush. They remained patient, observing every twitch of her ears, every tense shift of weight, each breath. They spoke softly, allowing their presence to be known without startling her. The mist clung to the river's surface and the grass beneath her feet, softening the edges of the world as if holding it in a gentle pause. Occasionally, her trunk swept lightly across the mud, brushing away debris, small gestures that suggested both discomfort and instinctive care. Hours passed in this quiet vigil, marked only by her measured moans and the distant ripple of the river. Every now and then, she attempted to rise, trembling and shifting with care, testing the strength in her legs. The team moved slowly, never closing the distance too quickly, offering calm reassurance without intrusion. A whispered word traveled on the breeze. "You're almost there," the ranger murmured, and she lifted her head slightly, nostrils flaring, acknowledging the human presence with a tentative trust. As the sun climbed higher, light began to filter through the mist, revealing the subtle contours of the land, the soft curve of the riverbank, the scattered reeds, the damp earth pressed into her skin. Her body, though massive and powerful, seemed fragile against the stillness of the morning. Each gentle shift, each heavy breath, told the story of a life at a crossroads. A silent struggle made visible in the patient observation of those who had come to help. In this quiet, fragile dawn, the first signs of danger were clear. But so too was the fragile thread of trust that had begun to form between her and the team. A connection built slowly, without force. On the edge of a river that would witness the beginning of a long, careful rescue, the heat of midday pressed down across the riverbank as the elephant struggled with movements that had grown slower. Each attempt to rise an enormous effort. Her legs trembled under the weight of her swollen belly, and her body swayed in careful, measured shifts from side to side, a rhythm that carried both discomfort and fatigue. She let out soft moans with each exhale, subtle sounds that spoke of strain rather than alarm. And her ears flicked occasionally as if measuring the presence of the team nearby. Sweat glistened along her temples, mixing with the river mist and darkening the patches of mud on her rough skin. Insects hovered, drawn to her body, and a lone bird perched on a low branch, tilting its head in quiet curiosity as it observed her fragile stance. The rescue team moved deliberately, keeping distance, allowing her space while watching closely. Every movement was calculated, a balance between proximity and respect, and every whisper carried only reassurance. "You're almost there," a ranger murmured, careful to remain unobtrusive, letting the softness of the voice carry across the few meters between them without startling her. Her eyes, heavy and strained, lifted briefly in response. A flicker of awareness and cautious trust. They observed signs that demanded attention. A faint limp in her hind legs, slight unevenness as she shifted her weight, the subtle tremor in her trunk as she tested the ground beneath her. Hours of solitary struggle had left its marks, and the team recognized that intervention would need patience rather than force. A plan took shape. Approach gradually, avoid sudden gestures, and allow her to choose the pace at which she would accept help. As the sun rose higher, the air thickened with the smell of wet earth and the metallic temps of the river. The elephant's trunk swept over the mud, brushing away debris, and her massive head tilted toward the rescuers intermittently, eyes half-lidded in exhaustion. Each careful step the team took mirrored her breathing, each pause a silent dialogue. They did not rush. They matched her rhythm, letting the soft lapping of water against the bank punctuate the quiet tension of the morning. The elephant made tentative attempts to stand, testing her legs one at a time, shifting her weight with a slow deliberateness that spoke of both instinct and necessity. When she wobbled, the team responded not with force, but with steady presence, guiding and supporting through subtle touches and placement rather than restraint. The soft murmur of one rescuer, "It's okay," girl, floated over the grass, a gentle anchor that seemed to reassure her more than any physical intervention could. Time passed in the gentle cadence of observation, punctuated by the natural sounds of the river, distant cicadas, and occasional rustle of leaves. The elephant responded gradually, shifting her body with care, testing her strength and adjusting her stance. Her massive trunk brushed against a fallen branch, pushing it aside, and she turned her head toward the humans again, eyes heavy with exhaustion, but open to connection. Each gesture carried meaning, a subtle nod, a soft shift of weight, a quiet moan. It was not a plea for humans to lead her, but an acceptance of their presence, an acknowledgement that help could exist without threat. As the day wore on, the team carefully prepared the clearing and surrounding area, removing obstacles, ensuring the ground beneath her feet was stable, and planning the slowest, safest path toward safety. They coordinated in soft whispers, moving as one, each member attuned to her reactions, her breathing, her subtle signals of readiness. The elephant's movements remained labored, yet her trust deepened with each hour of patience. By late afternoon, the subtle change was undeniable. She lifted her head more fully, shifted her weight with slightly less tremor, and allowed the rescuers to move closer to assist. The team's hearts moved with her cautious progress, aware that the gentle rhythm they had maintained over hours had begun to foster the fragile bond necessary for the next stage, guiding her toward safety. Each careful observation, each measured step, each soft word whispered into the heavy afternoon air had led to this moment, a silent acknowledgement that care, patience, and respect could overcome fear, and that she might yet find the strength to rise fully under their gentle guidance. The afternoon sun hung low over the riverbank, its heat pressing down on every surface, warming the damp earth and heavy air. The elephant shifted again, each movement deliberate, legs trembling under the immense weight of her swollen belly. The team moved closer with quiet caution, careful to let her guide the pace. No stretcher was needed. What mattered most was trust, patience, and the steady presence of humans who would not push, pull, or frighten her. Each rescuer assumed a position around her, voices soft and low, words almost swallowed by the whisper of leaves in the afternoon breeze. Every gesture was measured, every step deliberate, as if the world itself held its breath alongside them. Her first attempt to rise was hesitant. Legs quivered beneath her massive frame, and she rocked slightly, testing her strength and balance. A rope looped carefully around her torso provided gentle support, and hands pressed softly against her sides, guiding but never forcing. She flinched at times, ears flicking nervously, tail swishing like a metronome of unease, yet she accepted the assistance. The team watched her breathing closely, noting every shallow intake and slow exhale, aware that one wrong move could undo the fragile trust being built. They adjusted their positions, whispered encouragement, and waited for her to take the next step in her own time. Almost there. "You're safe now," a quiet voice murmured, a touch of reassurance threaded through exhaustion and hope. The words barely carried over the rustle of the riverbank, yet she seemed to acknowledge them, her eyes lifting briefly, bright and alert in an exhausted haze. Every tremor of her legs, every sway of her massive head, spoke to a body strained beyond comfort, yet gradually moving with careful intent. The team mirrored her rhythm, advancing only as she allowed, their attention fixed on the precise distribution of her weight, the balance of her steps, and the gentle sway of her swollen frame. Step by step, the procession moved. The elephant's trunk brushed against fallen twigs and soft patches of grass. Pushing aside obstacles with instinctive caution, each step was slow, deliberate, and heavy, yet her moans, once low and distressed, softened into sighs of relief, subtle sounds carried on the warm afternoon air. The river beside them reflected the fading sun in glimmering streaks, a mirror of the path she took toward safety. Her body, though taut with effort, began to respond to the gentle guidance offered, and a quiet tension lifted as if the world acknowledged her tentative courage. The terrain shifted from mud to grass, and the team adjusted their guidance accordingly. Fingers pressed lightly against her sides, ropes applied with careful precision, a hand near her head to steady her as needed. Her ears twitched occasionally, tail flicked in short bursts, yet each gesture grew slower, calmer, signaling trust in the slow, deliberate rhythm the humans maintained. They did not rush her, did not coax with force or alarm, only maintained their presence, steady and unobtrusive, like shadows blending into the soft evening light. By the time the clearing came into view, open and dotted with soft grass, her steps carried less tremor, her breathing deepened, and her head lowered in a quiet, tentative relief. The team allowed her space, retreating slightly as her body finally relaxed under the open sky. For the first time since the morning, she breathed fully, unburdened by the immediate pressure of danger, and the human presence became almost invisible, a silent reassurance woven into the fabric of the moment. The soft rustle of grass beneath her feet and the gentle lap of the river nearby framed her stillness, a serene punctuation to the arduous afternoon. She paused in the clearing, her massive head lowered, trunk brushing gently at the soft ground. The calf within shifted slightly, the first signs of new life mirrored in her tentative calm. Around her, the team remained close enough to ensure her safety, but far enough to let her claim the space as her own. The air was heavy with relief, the faint scent of river and earth mingling with the soft heat of the waning sun. In that quiet pause, the elephant stood as a testament to resilience, trust, and patient care, a massive presence finally allowed to rest without fear. The clearing seemed suspended in time, a space where both human and animal presence existed in gentle equilibrium. And the day began its slow descent into evening, leaving the elephant unburdened, steady, and quietly sovereign in her reclaimed space. The clearing lay bathed in silver as night settled over the river, the air cooling and carrying the soft scent of wet earth and grass. Stars had begun to scatter across the sky, their reflection flickering in the gentle ripples of the water, and the elephant shifted uneasily on the soft grass. Her breaths came faster now, shallow and uneven, each exhale a testament to the weight she bore and the change moving through her body. Her muscles tensed in slow rolling waves, the unmistakable signs of labor etched in the careful sway of her enormous frame. The team remained nearby, but at a distance that allowed her space, their presence quiet and steady. A steady rhythm of watchfulness and patience, they moved only as necessary, speaking in low murmurs, voices blending with the soft rustle of leaves and the occasional snapping twig underfoot. "You're doing beautifully. Stay with us," a rescuer whispered, voice soft and calm, threading reassurance into the night air. The elephant responded not with recognition of the words, but with a subtle easing of tension. Her ears flicking once, then lying flat, a signal that the human's quiet presence had not disturbed her. Around her, the forest seemed to lean in. Every creature suspended in the delicate balance of anticipation and stillness, hours stretched with slow precision. The elephant swaying gently from side to side, each movement deliberate and measured, as if mapping the rhythm of the life she was about to bring forth. Her trunk brushed lightly against the ground, pulling at tufts of grass or nudging small stones aside. Soft moans, deep and resonant, accompanied each contraction. Merging with the quiet hum of the river and the distant call of night birds, her eyes, wide and luminous under the moonlight, conveyed both exhaustion and trust, at a fragile vulnerability in her enormous, enduring form. The rescuers remained attentive, observing every shift, every tremor. Their own breaths slowed to match hers, their hands ready, but never intrusive. As the night deepened, the subtle sounds of labor gave way to a new, delicate presence, a small, high-pitched cry. Almost lost in the gentle chorus of nighttime, the elephant lowered her massive head, trunk extending with careful precision, and touched the newborn wet and trembling against her side. Her eyes softened, ears flicking gently, trunk curling protectively around the small body in a gesture both instinctive and tender. The calf struggled briefly, then nestled closer, guided by the warmth and safety of its mother. The team watched in silence, faces illuminated by starlight, reflecting a mixture of relief, awe, and reverence. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the nocturnal world pausing in quiet respect for the new life. Leaves remained still, and even the river's ripples seemed softened, as if nature itself had bowed to the moment. The team did not move forward, did not speak beyond murmured encouragement, allowing the bond between mother and child to solidify undisturbed. The elephant's trunk pressed against her calf, nudging it gently, her body coiled protectively. While her soft moans slowly subsided into calm sighs of relief, time became secondary, measured only in the careful shifts of the mother's weight, the settling of the calf against her side, and the occasional whisper of wind through the grass. Every small gesture, the tilt of the head, the careful touch of the trunk, the soft sway of the massive body spoke to an understanding older than words, a patient rhythm of life that had played out countless times but never ceased to awe. The miracle had arrived quietly, without fanfare or spectacle, yet its presence was profound. The fragile beginning of a new journey, visible in the delicate rise and fall of breaths and the gentle connection between mother and child. By the time the first hints of dawn brushed, the mother elephant lay curled protectively around her newborn, both heavy and fragile, a testament to endurance, patience, and trust. The forest exhaled softly around them, the river glinting faintly in the pre-dawn light, carrying with it the quiet affirmation that life had prevailed, that care and observation had preserved a fragile miracle. The team remained back, watching in stillness, hearts full with the silent weight of what they had witnessed, knowing that the memory of this night would remain with them forever. Held in the quiet majesty of the world itself, the first light of dawn crept gently across the clearing, brushing the tall grasses with muted golds that softened the shadows of the night. The mother elephant shifted slowly, rising with deliberate care, muscles still taut from the strain of labor, yet steady now with newfound strength. Her calf followed closely, legs unsteady, wobbling with each tentative step. Guided by the careful sweep of her trunk and the protective curve of her massive body, they paused at the river's edge, the water calm and reflective, mirroring their silhouettes in quiet reverence, as if the world itself had witnessed the night's fragile miracle. Each movement was measured, a careful dance of trust and instinct. The calf leaned against its mother for support, trunk curling toward her leg, ears flicking at every new sound, tails swishing in small, uncertain arcs. Birds rose in gentle chorus from the surrounding trees, their calls light against the soft murmur of the river. Even the forest seemed to release its held breath, exhaling relief at the sight of life moving safely through the first morning light. Dew clung to the elephant's thick skin and the grass beneath her feet, glinting faintly, as if honoring each slow step, taken toward safety. The rescue team remained back, fading into the background with careful steps, letting the elephants claim the space as their own. No cheers or loud voices disturbed the fragile calmly, the occasional whispered affirmation. They're free, barely audible over the rustle of leaves. The humans watched with quiet awe, hearts heavy with the weight of the night's labor and the delicate miracle of survival, understanding that their role had been one of gentle guidance rather than control. Every glance, every movement was a silent acknowledgement of the bond forged between species and patience. Observation and respect. The calf tested its legs more confidently now, stepping with increasing steadiness, trunk brushing softly against the ground, and mother's side. The mother adjusted her pace to match, trunk curling to nudge her young along when needed, ears flicking to catch sounds of the forest. Each small gesture, touch, shift of weight, sway of trunk spoke of reassurance and protection. A quiet language older than any words spoken through movement and presence alone. The sun rose higher, casting long, warm shadows across the clearing, painting the scene with soft amber light that shimmered over the river's surface, glinting as if nature itself was celebrating the survival of the two lives now moving forward together, step by step. The pair moved away from the clearing, entering the denser parts of the forest where the mist lifted to reveal a horizon of distant trees, a mosaic of green and shadow promising safety and solitude. Each footfall was deliberate, yet full of grace, testament to resilience and instinct, a poem written in the quiet rhythm of survival. The calf leaned into its mother's presence, learning the ways of the forest from the gentle guidance of her body. The subtle sway of her massive frame, the soft brush of trunk against side. Nature unfolded around them, accepting them once again into its fold. The river a quiet witness to their emergence into freedom. As the humans turned away, their steps slow and measured, the moment remained suspended in their hearts. No photographs, no words, could capture the weight of what had occurred, the life saved. The bond honored, the miracle witnessed in silence. The mother and calf continued into the forest, shadows merging with the trees. Soft sunlight warming their backs, the river glinting faintly beside them. The wind stirred the grass, carrying with it the faint scent of earth and water. A reminder that the world moves on, yet holds the memory of compassion and care. The clearing was quiet once more, the forest resuming its ordinary rhythm, slightly gentler, slightly brighter, carrying forward the echo of trust, survival, and the quiet celebration of life reclaimed in its natural balance.